The Seljuk Empire. A Great Seljuk Empire was a medieval Turko-Persian Sunni Muslim empire, originating from the Qynyq branch of Oghuz Turks. The Seljuk Empire controlled a vast area stretching from the Hindu Kush to eastern Anatolia and from Central Asia to the Persian Gulf. For the homelands near the Aral Sea, the Seljuks advanced first into Khorasan and then into mainland Persia before eventually conquering eastern Anatolia. The Seljuk Empire was founded by Tughril Beg in 1037. Tughril was raised by his grandfather Seljuk Beg, who was in a high position in the Oghuz Yabgu state. Seljuk gave his name to both the Seljuk Empire and the Seljuk dynasty. The Seljuks united the fractured political scene of the Eastern Islamic world and played a key role in the First and Second Crusades. Highly Persianized in culture and language, the Seljuks also played an important role in the development of the Turko-Persian tradition, even exporting Persian culture to Anatolia. The settlement of Turkic tribes in the northwestern peripheral parts of the empire, for the strategic military purpose of fending off invasions from neighboring states, led to the progressive Turkicization of those areas. Founder of the dynasty, the apical ancestor of the Seljuks was the Beg Seljuk, who was reputed to have served in the Khazar army, under whom, circa 950, they migrated to Khorasan, near the city of Gent, where they converted to Islam. Expansion of the empire. The Seljuks were allied with the Persian Samanid Shahs against the Khorassanids. The Samanid fell to the Khorassanids in Transoxania, however, whereafter the Ghaznavids arose. The Seljuks became involved in this power struggle in the region before establishing their own independent base. Tughril and Tughril. Tughril was the grandson of Seljuk and brother of Tughril, under whom the Seljuks wrested an empire from the Ghaznavids. Initially the Seljuks were repulsed by Mahmud and retired to Khorasan, but Tughril and Tughril led them to capture Merv and Nishapur. Later they repeatedly raided and traded territory with his successors across Khorasan and Balkh, and even sacked Ghazni in 1037. In 1040 at the Battle of Dandanakan, they decisively defeated Masud I of the Ghaznavids, forcing him to abandon most of his western territories to the Seljuks. In 1055, Tughril captured Baghdad from the Shia Buyids under a commission from the Abbasids. Alparslan, the son of Tughril Beg, expanded significantly upon Tughril's holdings by adding Armenia and Georgia in 1064 and invading the Byzantine Empire in 1068, from which he annexed almost all of Anatolia. Arslan's decisive victory at the Battle of Manzikert in 1071 effectively neutralized the Byzantine resistance to the Turkish invasion of Anatolia. He authorized his Turkmen generals to carve their own principalities out of formerly Byzantine Anatolia as Atabegs loyal to him. Within 2 years the Turkmens had established control as far as the Aegean Sea under numerous Beglerks. The Seljukids in northeastern Anatolia, Mengujakids in eastern Anatolia, Artukids in southeastern Anatolia, Danish Mandus in central Anatolia, Rum Seljuks in western Anatolia, and the Beylik of Zarchas of Smyrna in Izmir. Malik Shah I under Alparslan's successor Malik Shah and his 2 Persian viziers, Nizam al-Mulk and Taj al-Mulk. The Seljuk state expanded in various directions, to the former Iranian border of the days before the Arab invasion, so that it soon bordered China in the east and the Byzantines in the west. Malik Shah moved the capital from Ray to Isfahan, and it was during his reign that the Great Seljuk Empire reached its zenith. The Iqta military system and the Nizamiya University at Baghdad were established by Nizam al-Mulk, and the reign of Malik Shah was reckoned the golden age of Great Seljuk. The Abbasid Caliph titled him the Sultan of the East and West in 1087. The assassins of Hasan I Sabah started to become a force during his era, however, and they assassinated many leading figures in his administration. According to many sources, these victims included Nizam al-Mulk, governance. The Seljuk power was at its zenith under Malik Shah, and both the Kara Khanates and Ghaznavids had to acknowledge the overlordship of the Seljuks. The Seljuk dominion was established over the ancient Sasanian domains in Iran and Iraq, and included Anatolia as well as parts of Central Asia and modern Afghanistan. The Seljuk rule was modeled after the tribal organization common in Turkic and Mongol nomads and resembled a family federation or appanage state. Under this organization, a leading member of the paramount family assigned family members portions of his domains as autonomous appanages. Division of empire. When Malik Shah I died in 1092, the empire split as his brother and 4 sons quarreled over the apportioning of the empire among themselves. Malik Shah I was succeeded in Anatolia by Qynyq Arslan, who founded the Sultanate of Rum, and in Syria by his brother Tutushai. In Persia he was succeeded by his son Mahmud I, whose reign was contested by his other 3 brothers Bakiruk in Iraq, Muhammad I in Baghdad, and Ahmad Sunja in Khorasan. When Tutushai died, his sons Radwin and Dukak inherited Aleppo and Damascus respectively and contested with each other as well, further dividing Syria amongst emirs antagonistic towards each other. In 1118, the 3rd son Ahmad Sunja took over the empire. His nephew, the son of Muhammad I, did not recognize his claim to the throne, and Mahmud II proclaimed himself sultan and established a capital in Baghdad, until 1131 when he was finally officially deposed by Ahmad Sunja. Elsewhere in nominal Seljuk territory were the Arturkids in northeastern Syria and northern Mesopotamia. They controlled Jerusalem until 1098. The Danishmend dynasty founded a state in eastern Anatolia and northern Syria and contested land with the Sultanate of Rum, and Kerbofa exercised independence as the Atabeg of Mosul. First Crusade. During the First Crusade, the fractured states of the Seljuks were generally more concerned with consolidating their own territories and gaining control of the neighbors, than with cooperating against the Crusaders. The Seljuks easily defeated the untrained People's Crusader arriving in 1096, but they could not stop the progress of the army of the subsequent Prince's Crusade, which took important cities such as Nicaea, Iconium, Caesarea Massaca, and Antioch on its march to Jerusalem. In 1099 the Crusaders finally captured the Holy Land and set up the first Crusader states. The Seljuks had already lost Palestine to the Fatimids, who had recaptured it just before its capture by the Crusaders. Second Crusade. During this time conflict with the Crusader states was also intermittent, and after the First Crusade increasingly independent Atabegs would frequently ally with the Crusader states against other Atabegs as they vied with each other for territory. At Mosul, Zengi succeeded Kerbofa as Atabeg and successfully began the process of consolidating the Atabegs of Syria. In 1144 Zengi captured Edessa, as the county of Edessa had allied itself with the Arturkids against him. This event triggered the launch of the Second Crusade. Enur ad-Din, one of Zengi's sons who succeeded him as Atabeg of Aleppo, created an alliance in the region to oppose the Second Crusade, which landed in 1147. Decline. Ahmad Sunja fought to contain the revolts by the Kara Khanids in Transoxiana, Ghurids in Afghanistan, and Kaluks in modern Kyrgyzstan, as well as the nomadic invasion of the Karakitais in the east. The advancing Karakitais first defeated the eastern Kara Khanids, then followed up by crushing the western Kara Khanids, who were vassals of the Seljuks Mevlüt Kılıç and the Khorasan turned to their overlord the Seljuks for assistance, to which Sunja responded by personally leading an army against the Qynyq. However, Sunja's army was decisively defeated by the host of Yeludashi at the Battle of Katwin on September 9, 1141. While Sunja managed to escape with his life, many of his close kin including his wife were taken captive in the battle's aftermath. As a result of Sunja's failure to deal with the encroaching threat from the east, the Seljuk Empire lost all its eastern provinces up to the river Sirdarya, and vassalage of the western Khorasan was usurped by the Qynyq, otherwise known as the Western Liao in Chinese historiography. Conquest by Khwarizm and the Ayyubids. In 1153, the Oghuz rebelled and captured Sunja. He managed to escape after 3 years but died a year later. The Atabegs, such as Zengids and Turkids, were only nominally under the Seljuk Sultan, and generally controlled Syria independently. When Ahmed Sunja died in 1156, it fractured the empire even further and rendered the Atabegs effectively independent. Khorasani Seljuks in Khorasan and Transoxiana. Capital: Merv. Kermani Seljuks. Sultanate of Rum. Capital: Iznik, later Konya. Artabaglik of the Salgurids in Iran. Artabaglik of Eldagazids in Iraq and Azerbaijan. Capital: Hamadan. Artabaglik of Bori in Syria. Capital: Damascus. Artabaglik of Zangi in Al Jazeera. Capital: Mosul. Turkoman Begliks, Danishmendis, Turkids, Saljukids and Mengujakids in Asia Minor. Khwarizm Shahs in Transoxiana. Khwarizm. Capital: Urgench. After the Second Crusade, Nur ad-Din's general Shirkuh, who had established himself in Egypt on Fatimid land, was succeeded by Saladin. In time, Saladin rebelled against Nur ad-Din, and, upon his death, Saladin married his widow and captured most of Syria and created the Ayyubid dynasty. On other fronts, the Kingdom of Georgia began to become a regional power and extended its borders at the expense of Great Seljuk. The same was true during the revival of the Armenian Kingdom of Cilicia under Leo II of Armenia in Anatolia. The Abbasid Caliph Nizir also began to reassert the authority of the Caliph and allied himself with the Khwarizm Shah Takash. For a brief period, Tughril III was the Sultan of all Seljuk except for Anatolia. In 1194, however, Tughril was defeated by Takash, the Shah of Khwarizmid Empire, and the Seljuk Empire finally collapsed. Of the former Seljuk Empire, only the Sultanate of Rum in Anatolia remained. As the dynasty declined in the middle of the 13th century, the Mongols invaded Anatolia in the 1260s and divided it into small emirates called the Anatolian Beyliks. Eventually one of these, the Ottoman, would rise to power and conquer the rest. Legacy. The Seljuks were educated in the service of Muslim courts as slaves or mercenaries. The dynasty brought revival energy and reunion to the Islamic civilization hitherto dominated by Arabs and Persians. The Seljuks founded universities and were also patrons of art and literature. The reign is characterized by Persian astronomers such as Omar Khayyam and the Persian philosopher Al-Ghazali. Under the Seljuks, New Persian became the language for historical recording, while the center of Arabic language culture shifted from Baghdad to Cairo. List of Sultans of the Great Seljuk Empire. Gallery.